never see that accountability. Ever. Especially from men where it's supposed to be iron sharpen iron. Here's something that I see, and it is my job to be a mirror for you as your brother, to hold that mirror up to say, yo, this is what I'm seeing. Do you see the same thing? What comes up for you when I say that? All of the things that you just talked about in terms of what this industry is and how normalized that is, but can still be able to call that out and not be, desensitized to drinking every day being that normal, because it's normal in this game, man. I used to drink every single day.
I was on a rooftop in New York City at this party, and it was like all these famous people around me, and I should be having the time of my life. Actors, actresses, singers, millionaires. And I felt empty, and I felt alone, and unhealthy, and down, and heavy. And yeah, man, I remember leaving that party, and I was like, all right, God, I was like, if you got something else for me, show me, because I'm not being fulfilled anymore with just being the side guy.
Welcome to the Let There Be Art podcast. I'm your host, Devin Johnson, and today we're going to be talking about health, man. We're going to be talking about health for musicians and creatives and some of the not so healthy things that come along with being in this industry. And, we've lost a lot of people, unfortunately, in our industry, some amazing heroes that have inspired me and inspired both of us. I think I can speak for us both. And these amazing musicians, producers, writers, singers that have left this world too soon because of a lot of the health issues that we've been dealing with as a community. And yeah, I just really want to touch on this. We both had our health concerns and scares over the years, and have both been able to shift our life and our mindsets on how we view health and what's important to us. With all that said, man, we're jumping in this with one of my favorite people in the world, literally my brother. Blood couldn't make us any closer. We've been through everything together, like dreaming together. We went to Berklee College of Music together, met each other at 18, 19 years old, just trying to figure it out, coming from our hometown, small towns. Dre's from Schenectady, New York, and I'm from Columbus, Georgia. So that small town life, and just really dreaming big, and just seeing something and bigger than ourselves, and just to be so young and have that vision. You don't really understand it in the moment, but looking back, man, it's just such a blessing for us to both be here doing what we love, and all of those dreams coming true. I'm so proud of you, brother. I can't say that enough, of all you've done, the way you've continued to change your life and re-evolve and adapt and go and roll with the punches, man. My brother, Modre Brown. Welcome to the podcast, my guy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, man. Dude, the feeling is absolutely mutual, bro. We've been through so much life together. We've become family over the years, and our families have shared moments and times together, and I'm so grateful for you, man, and for everything that you've done that has inspired me, and just the brotherhood, man. It's been beautiful, and I love what you're doing with the podcast, man. Glad to be a part. It's so many years. The archives are so deep, G.
Bro.
Like, are we at 20?
We at 17, bro.
Boy,
that's crazy.
That's a lot of living.
It's a lot of living, bro.
A lot of cheese waffles.
Oh my God, not the cheese waffles.
Gotta talk about the cheese waffles. But I remember at 5 a.m. after finishing sessions in your mom's basement, bro, we would either go to, if it was before like 3, we would go and get quesadillas from Taco Bell. The chicken or the steak ones? The steak ones. Man.
They used to give me the free ones.
Yeah. With the extra jalapeno sauce.
Oh my God, stomach bubbling.
Woo!
Stomach
So it was
bubbling,
either those,
bro.
or we would work to the morning and then make cheese waffles.
Bro, wait, I got a video of us eating breakfast at like 5 in the morning, bro.
It's now officially 5:20 a.m. Me and Devin did a thing in the kitchen. Some eggs, some ham, cheese, some pancakes. I'm about to be passed out with myself.
We cook.
And we cook too.
And we cook.
1, 2, 3. And we cook. You know what I'm saying?
I'm so glad you kept all of that footage, man. Our street team energy was unmatched at that time, bro.
Nah, we
Good
had
times,
some
bro.
great times, man. Great times, yo. So yeah, just really want to tap in this with you. We've been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad we could finally get on here and chop it up, man.
Yeah, dude. No, it's it's kind of wild, man. After the pandemic, my partner Lucy and I, you know, Lou, she has always been super health conscious, and like even when we first got together, man, like it was very apparent to me that I needed a shift. Sometimes you need people around you that are gonna kind of motivate you. And so, you know, almost 6 years ago, we started dating and we started having more conversations around like, you know, how we could kind of swap some things out when it came to our diet and like what we were eating. And at the time I had just come off of like touring for like 10 years, like going hard and everything that came along with that. And it was kind of the perfect time to make the shift because I was slowing down from being on the road and she was intricate in starting those conversations. So yeah, it went from like maybe eating out 3 to 4 times a week to only eating out on the weekends to more greens in my diet. She got me on probiotics, you know, and then from that point I took the ball into my own hands and really started just caring a little bit more about the things that I was putting in my body. And especially, and I think the hard part is, and like you talked about it's the lifestyle. Like when we were running, you're not getting out of the gig until after loadout and all that. It might be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, getting on the bus, and you got to go to the next city. So you're trying to find something, the quickest thing that you can. And that might be Waffle House, or it might be In-N-Out, or it might be whatever's open.
Taco Bell?
Bruh, Taco Bell, we was just talking about it, man. Them steak tacos with the extra jalapeno sauce used to get us, you know?
Man, toe up.
You know, or in the store, or if you're at the studio, it's the same thing. It's just like, it's a toxic thing that's become a part of the culture. And so it takes some, like, you just got to reteach yourself how to treat yourself. Reteach yourself how to treat yourself, you know, good. So yeah, man, no, it's been a journey, and it still is, man, because sometimes I still want to veg out and have some wings and do something crazy. But like getting older and realizing like the wear and tear we've already done on our bodies from 10 plus years of like living fast and like eating late and eating really crappy or drinking a lot, to now getting to our 30s and you realize like, nah, like we've already got a lot of mileage, so we should probably check our oil. We should do the maintenance. And somebody used the example, I think it was Slim, we were talking a couple years ago, and he basically compared our bodies to a car, and he was like, you can't run a car on, if certain things aren't working with the car, it's not going to work correctly. If the tires aren't, you're not rotating your tires, changing your oil, and doing all these things, right? And so I've personally really like try to adapt that mentality to how I treat my body now. But yeah, it's wild, man. It's because, like you said earlier, man, it's become such a it's just really kind of sad, man, how many of us didn't get the chance or didn't take the time to like reevaluate how we were treating our bodies and our minds, so much so that we've lost so many, like you said, at a young age, and so many greats and legends and people that have been so influential in the culture of music, live music, studio music, all of that. And nobody talks about it. And that's why I'm glad you have this podcast, because I think at the end of the day, it's just we gotta encourage each other. We gotta inspire each other. When I come to your house, when we hang out, every time you got something good, something healthy. And it's those kind of conversations and that kind of like camaraderie and communal experience, man, will help hopefully encourage all of us to start taking a better look at ourselves. Yes,
sir, man. No, and I love the analogy to the car. I haven't necessarily used that myself, but I definitely believe in the maintenance. So what I've been embarking on this year is starting to implement. So you know this, but for you guys who are listening, I did a full 7-week detox on like nothing but juices at the top of 2023, and that really just changed my whole perspective of like, I was using the bathroom the entire time for 7 weeks straight with only putting liquids in my body. That's how much stuff we have in them. So I've heard it can literally take 120, 130 days, just depending on how well you're detoxing and what you're actually eating on the detox. So yeah, so now I've adopted, this mentality of just maintenance and not using these detoxes as a quick fix to things. So now on Mondays, all fruit every single week. Through the week, all raw on Monday through Thursday. Friday, we'll have some cooked food, only one meal a day. Friday through Sunday, we'll have some cooked food and cheat a little bit. But yeah, just really having that maintenance plan. And then every 3 months in the transition between the seasons, doing a shorter detox for, like 7 to 14 day detox where you're just constantly getting those things out of you, because people don't even know, like, there's stuff in it, like it's the pollution in the air, it's the mercury and the chlorine and fluoride in the water, it's literally your clothes. So that was a whole nother thing I had to, like, if you're wearing polyester and nylon and all this stuff, that stuff literally gets into, like, goes straight into your bloodstream. So it's not even just what you eat. And so yeah, I would really encourage people to look into doing, you know, that more maintenance. You know, I like how you said that, man, that maintenance of constantly putting your body back in alignment with being natural and being able to flush your system out. So yeah, I love that analogy, man. And you were talking about touring, so I would love for you to get into some of the people you work with and some of your experiences.
Started on the touring side, as you were saying. It started with, like, I think I did Dietrich Haddon was one of my first big gigs. First time going out of the country was with Dietrich, and then from there, I was the fill-in guy in Atlanta, so all the big homies used to call me, and I started doing, like, so I did The Dream for a while, I did Belle Biv DeVoe, I did Flo Rida, Carrie Hilson, Bobby Valentino, Diddy for a little while, J-Lo. It was a lot, man. To be honest, like I was saying to you earlier, man, it's like a whirlwind when you think about how fast this stuff was happening. But yeah, man, no, that was the start of it for me. And then from there, I went on to start doing more MD stuff. So I would get calls to put together bands, get calls to go out with artists. And that's when Band of Brothers started touring together. So we toured as an opener for Maxwell with Kevin Ross, our homie from Berkeley. And then Jadena, and started doing stuff with Janelle Monáe's camp. And yeah, just a slew of people, man. And I think from that point, after the touring thing, I just decided I felt like I'd always wanted to write and produce more, that we came up writing songs and making beats and doing all those things. But so I started focusing after the pandemic. I started focusing on, well, really before the pandemic, focusing on writing production.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I remember you sharing some of the early stuff with me when we were still out in L.A., and so that had to be like, 17, that was like 2017, 18, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah. So I think it started, I got the bug because I started getting more calls to do studio work, playing in sessions, and it was cool. But like for me, I was like, man, I want to do a little bit more than just play some bass on a record, and it was cool.
He was hearing stuff. He was like, man, if you just add this,
yeah, man. And you know, protocol when you go in those rooms, man, you got to play your part, man, and get out the way. But like, I think I just got between playing in those sessions and feeling like I could do more, and to be completely honest with you, which we'll get into, I'm sure, later, but the desire to be effective with my music and watching these certain artists who didn't really appreciate their platform, that were like, now this was when I was like touring as an MD, because you know, you get into these rooms and like you're running the band, you're pretty much running the whole show, right? And babysitting the artist to some extent. And you just start to see they don't show up to rehearsals, they don't know their lyrics, all these things. And I'm like, yo, not for nothing, but like, I could do this, you know what I mean? Like, or I'd rather be a part of like helping someone that's really passionate get to this place, right? So yeah, started back producing and writing in like 2016, 2017, just shooting in the dark. And then 2019, I think I got a call to do some from my buddy Matt Head, a really amazing music composer and supervisor, to provide music for a couple of BET films. So I did some work with him, and then Yvette Nicole Brown, she was involved in one of the projects he was doing, or he was involved in one of her projects. So I ended up doing some music for her movie. And then from there, that led to, I think, Erica from Mary found me somehow on Instagram, and she had me on a radio show. Played one of my record, A Lot to Learn. First time hearing my records on the radio, which was kind of weird. So it was like it just started to make sense. This, like I said, this is like 18, 19 going into the pandemic. And that's when I realized, I was like, man, I got to start to pay attention to what's happening. And like the live stuff was cool, but like I was really finding that there was a place for me, and especially within like TV and film. So then I ended up getting a couple more placements. I did The Shy a couple times, had some music in there, had some music on, ended up doing a co-production with Jay Kitts and Kevin Ross on Ari Lennox and Nasty C, a record called Black and White that was in the Coming to America soundtrack. And then it went to 2K, NBA 2K4, it was on there too. So yeah, man, so it's been a wild journey, man, from the live stuff to like doing the record stuff, and now like I'm 98%, with the exception of like when Band of Brothers has to do some back and band stuff. I'm primarily all in on production and writing, and doing a lot of artist development with artists here in New Zealand and in the States, and as well as my own artistry and stuff, so as well.
Yeah, man. So I've always been an advocate of, yes, to have all the talents, but to use them in a smart way and to, really know how to use all your gifts in the best ways possible, just working smarter. And I was just really curious, what was there a particular catalyst or something that sparked in you that made you be like, I need to step away from the road?
To be honest, it was lifestyle. It was lifestyle, bro. I had a period of maybe 2 years between 16 and 17, maybe 17, 18, where I was juggling, like, I had like between 4 and 6 different accounts that I was like actively playing and MDing. And I was just burning out, bro. I was on planes, trains, buses, and then not eating good, drinking a lot, smoking a lot. And I'm open. I love to be able to share the truth about this. And I got overwhelmed. And the money was good. I was still showing up and doing the thing. We was doing every major TV show and all the big festivals, bro. But I started to feel, I think I was telling you this when we talked yesterday, but like there was this moment whenever I was on a rooftop in New York City at this party, and it was like all these famous people around me. And I should be having the time of my life. Actors, actresses, singers, millionaires. And I felt empty and I felt alone. And everything started to hit me at one time. It was like, and it wasn't like, I wasn't like wilding. It was just, I felt empty and unhealthy and down and heavy. And yeah, man, I remember leaving that party and I was like, all right, God, I was like, if you got something else for me, show me. Cause I'm not being fulfilled anymore with just being the side guy and just, doing the thing. And yeah, so I think that was really it, bro. I think it was a combination of like, of just the lifestyle and not feeling good. And I used to have this feeling in the pit of my stomach and being stressed out. I mean, bro, like as an MD, it's so funny because there's like this new culture of young cats that want an MD and like, and I'm not hating on nobody, but like we are the first ones in and the last ones out. We don't go to sleep. The work doesn't stop. The calls keep coming. For years, I didn't turn my phone off.
Yep.
And it just wasn't good on my mental health, man. It wasn't good on my body. I started dealing with gastritis, and the gastritis wasn't even just due to like drinking or anything like that. It was also due to stress and gut health. We talk about it all the time. So when I met Lou and she put me on probiotics and like, I just started eating better things for my flora, for my stomach, kimchi and like, all these different things, like drinking more water, less liquor, less fatty foods, and honestly, less stress. Everything changed. And so I started listening to my body and I was like, all right, well, I can go out and make this money, or I can stay home and I can write these records and get these TV situations and still make some bread and not burn out and be in a better space mentally. So I think, like I said, it was a combination of all that. Sorry, that was a long answer to your...
No, it's all needed, man. I love the context of it all, man, and because people need to hear that. I know I've even had conversations with people who are, working high up in the live industry and arranging and MDing, and it's a lot, bro. And I literally just had that conversation with a friend of mine maybe 2 months ago. And he was like, man, I heard some of the stuff you were saying at rehearsal, just about diversifying what you're doing and looking at some of the parts of what you were doing in the industry and really wanting to build your own. He was like, I'm there. He was like, this can't be it for me. And man, so I think everybody gets to that place, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, but that's why I think those personal goals for yourself are so important, in having that as what you're really locked in and focused on, and anything else is just icing on the cake. Yeah, if I have time, I'll do it. Or I'll put somebody else on it or whatever. But if it's not lining up with my vision, I can't do it.
Well, it's counterproductive, bro. And it's like you said, it's nice to know we can still do it. It's nice to go out and every now and again do a thing. But at the same time, man, it's like we're getting older, man, and we have kids and we have families, and like it's like legacy. Yep. We talked about it the other day, legacy, man. And there was certain aspects of these past couple of years that, especially leading up to this year where my daughter's about to be 3, certain things that she can, I can turn on TV and I can show her what I've done, and she could see my face, or she could hear the records that we've worked on, and like that's gonna last way longer than I will, God forbid.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like when we're long gone, our kids and our grandkids, you know, I saw somebody talk about the other day the realities of like us being gone in the next 70 years, right? 60, 70 years. And then thinking about the fact that some people won't remember us. And that's okay. But that's for an average person, definitely. But for us as creative people, we have an opportunity to leave a mark that lasts.
Yes.
Not just as a musician, not just as a side guy. There's other ways. And I think I've become enamored with that, bro. Like, and not from an egotistical standpoint, but especially once you find a purpose in what you do, especially what you and Jade are, you know, you guys are doing. It's so important because this generation needs it. The generation after needs it. And
Man.
So anyway, yeah.
Nah, you right on with it, man. The legacy is everything, bro. You know, we talked about that yesterday, and you know, just a big shift in the focus comes when you're thinking beyond yourself and you thinking beyond today and the check for right now. So I want to get into this first segment. We do a story every week, or we pull a clip every week that touches on the theme, and this like popped up yesterday. It was like perfect. With Big Sean on Drink Champs. I'm gonna play this clip real quick.
Jump up.
Yo, I gotta ask you too, before we get into this, I gotta ask you. How often do you do this show?
Too often.
I can't say this while we're on camera.
Okay.
Because, we figured it out. Well, hold on.
No, wait. I'm saying this from a sincere place. We be losing a lot of people.
Yes.
So how do you balance this shit? Because you can't just be sitting here drinking all the time.
No,
you
it
balance
doesn't
this
happen.
shit?
No, it doesn't.
You take care of yourself?
Yeah, we try to, man.
It's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
It's definitely a balance?
Yes, it's definitely a balance.
Okay.
Yes. Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right,
Man.
I loved that clip because we never see that accountability. Ever. Especially for men, where it's supposed to be iron sharpen iron. I say what I need to say even when it's uncomfortable. I think a lot of men have become feminine in that way, where we shy away from the confrontation. Even though it shouldn't be confrontation, it's just
The hard questions there.
Right.
The hard conversations, yeah.
just I hear something that I see, and it is my job to be a mirror for you as your brother to hold that mirror up to say, yo, this is what I'm seeing. Do you see the same thing? What comes up for you when I say that? Right. And I just love that, man, especially all that Sean has been through, just being in the game and being around all of the things that you just talked about in terms of what this industry is and how normalized that is, but can still be able to call that out and not be, desensitized to drinking every day being that normal, because it's normal in this game, man. I used to drink every single day.
Yep.
And I just really love that clip, man. So shout out to Big Sean. I know he just dropped I don't know if it was a whole album or just a single, but I know he just dropped that a couple days ago.
Accountability, bro.
Yeah,
accountability, man.
So I was curious, have you ever had like any of those conversations with your friends or colleagues just about their health or anything concerning health or mental health?
Yeah, in the past couple years, bro, it's been really important for me to have unfiltered, like, honest. You and I have had some deep dives over the past couple years, and like, I wanted to stop having these surface conversations with people, especially people that I love, and especially when you see things happening and you see mannerisms shift, and like, support is a verb. If I say I love you and I say I'm your brother or your friend or your son or your cousin, I'm gonna be honest. And I've had to have that conversation a couple times, actually, with family and friends, man. More specifically recently, and it was hard, man. It's hard because, like you said, as men, it's hard we don't open up about certain things. We don't like being vulnerable, and I can't like generalize that because it's actually more of us now than ever before. But there's still that aspect, and I remember having that conversation, and you get the push and pull, and it's like, nah, that's not a thing. What you mean? And it's like, nah, man. Look, I'm coming with love, man. At the end of the day, it's more important for me and important for my relationship that we share the truth and the honesty of like what's going on and what we see, so that we can, like you said, iron sharpens iron, man. I'm not your brother or your friend or your whoever if I'm gonna sit here and let you do something to yourself that's going to continue to take you down a dark road. Now the other side of that is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. And a lot about my life and a lot about my history, and this has been a big part of my life, substance abuse, and not just for me, but for people in my family and people that have been around me. So I've had to have this conversation quite a bit, actually, but I'm not afraid to. Which is why I'm not afraid to share my truths and my experiences, because I think you got to put $20 in the pot first if you want people to come in and continue to do the thing, right?
Yes, sir.
And so for me, I always lead from a standpoint of like, would I have this conversation with myself first, and how would I? And I try to treat myself with love. I don't try to beat myself down. So with other people, I do the same. It's like, hey, I see this, and like, are you okay? What do you need? I'm a safe space. I'm not here to judge you, but I do want you to know that I care about your health and well-being. And I don't want you to spiral. The hardest thing is to see the ability for someone else to be great and to change, and for them to not be able to see it in themselves, and to watch that every day. And that's ultimately, man, it's, but I always say, just like, with Lou and I, with Stella, man, it's lead by example, bro. We can't change people. All we can do is live that life and let our light shine, and hope in it, and pray that at some point, maybe it'll inspire someone else to, like, even just stop and think twice about the decision they're making, because it's these healthy things that we're doing are working. We're here. We're well. We haven't been in the hospital. Ain't no diabetes going on over here, over there. You know what I mean? And I'm not putting us on a pedestal, because it's a work in progress. But it's what you said. It's like, it's the consistency of it all, and taking that look at yourself every day and saying, like, I want to be better than I was the day before, and what have you. So yeah, that's always been my approach when it comes to that type of stuff with, like, people that I care about, man. It's just like, lead by example, but also have those hard conversations and know that they have a safe space.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I've done the same for sure, and it was always harder for me to do it on the health thing. I could always do it with, working, or, you got to do this or do that, or we got to work harder, or, that kind of thing. I was always an encourager, or could say what I needed to say. But the health thing, I that was much later for me until recently, and, have been blessed to have some people around me that actually have listened to that advice. And you said something earlier that I can relate to as well, just talking about how Lucy was a big inspiration for you to, like, really start to look at yourself, and Jay was that for me. Like, so she wasn't eating beef and pork, and I didn't know many people like that, except for my brother-in-law. He didn't eat pork. But yeah, and I was like, cool, I guess I'm about to do that too. And then
let me see what that's about, right?
But the unfortunate part is I replaced a lot of that beef and pork with liquor, man. So, saying all of that to say that appreciating the inspiration that I got, and being able to look at myself without the veil over, we kind of disassociate things with ourselves, and we just we try not to give it any life or call it out or anything. Like, even when I started to gain a lot of weight, but I could not allow myself to really just say it and say that I wasn't feeling right, and that something needed to change, man. And so once I finally did, I was like, I really have to give that back, and so grateful for Jade being an open door for me to see something new about myself and to change my life. And then from there, we ended up growing together and ended up start going all organic was our next shift after that. And then we went into an all plant-based diet in 2017. So we're 7 years in now. And that was the biggest change of my life. And because of that, I've been able to not even on purpose, but inspire my family to come on board. My mom's primarily plant-based now. Like, she's probably 95% plant-based over the last 2 years. My dad's plant-based now. My mom's health is so much better. She had shoulder problems and just so many things about her health, and just talking about how she feels better. She's actually just started her detox yesterday. Shout out to my mom. She's doing 120 days on herbs and fruit, and man, just really getting her life together, going into her 70th birthday next year. So I just think it's going to be amazing for her, man. So shout out to my mom.
Yeah, I was about to say, shout out to Mom Dukes, because last time I saw her, man, she had this glow on her, man, and she looked, and I didn't realize she was about to be going to her 70s, man.
Yeah, man.
But that's
so
the beautiful
crazy
thing, yo. Like, you were talking about, like, we were talking about legacy, and, like, it's crazy, like, you don't know, like, we always plan to be able to do things to change the narrative for our children, right? Like, we always plan to be able to do things to change the narrative for our children, right? But what about the elders that we can also affect, right?
Yes, yes.
And our, like, as we talked about, our peers and things like that. So I love that, man. That's such a beautiful thing, and I can completely relate. Like, my siblings and my aunts, like, I remember over the course of these past 5 or 6 years, man, like, going to dinners and going to, like, getting around and bringing different dishes than what we would traditionally bring. And, at first, especially in Black culture, it'd be like, oh, what's that? That ain't what it, and it's like, but then you show up to the thing and they brought the salad or they got the quinoa or they like, oh, you like that now? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, man. And I love it, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Like you said, leading by example, man, and sometimes that's all it takes. You ain't got to beat people over the head with your opinions or what you do. Man, people see it and they have to learn and move on their own time. And I believe when people are in the frequency where they are able to receive that and take action, and they will. And otherwise, they just can't in those areas. And not that their frequency is low in all areas, but that just may be an area that they need some work on. And they once that frequency rises up, then anything above it will start to attract it. And I truly believe that with our chakras and our energy centers, the glands in our body literally can take us through that process. So love that, man.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to get into kind of the main topic, and what really inspired me to want to do this is, like we said earlier, losing a ton of people who we really respect and looked up to, people who have inspired us to follow our dreams and to practice harder and, all of these things. But I can't do this podcast without shouting out some of these amazing musicians that have been an incredible influence in my life. So first of all, shout out to Rico Wade, ATL legend. Yes, shout out to Dungeon Family. They were everything for kids in the South, man, to finally hear ourselves and our perspective and our slang and everything in this music, man. And Outkast, that was my favorite rap group. Andre 3000 is my favorite rapper of all time. Absolutely. So first of all, shout out to Rico Wade, who we lost earlier this year. Cornell Thigpen, Aaron Spears, who was one of my biggest inspirations on drums.
Come on, bro.
You know what he did for Chops and
all of us, bro. He was the GOAT,
Usher, man. Yep. Oh my God. Tim Rawbiz, who went to Berkeley as well. Amazing bass player. Los for 1500, amazing drummer. C Major, who was my first production partner, who taught me so much about what it means to create a record and to think about it in ways that I never had, because he was literally my first true collaborator. I was working by myself before I met C Major, and funny enough, we never met in person. And
all those records y'all were doing.
All the records. The first time I saw him, unfortunately, was at his funeral, and but I had to go see him and his family and celebrate his life, man, because he was so ahead of his time. He never got the notoriety that I think he would have if he would have kept living. But he was so far beyond all the great producers of that time, man. No exaggeration.
Yeah.
So
I remember the records, bro.
Yeah, man. Shout out to him and his whole family, the Robinson family up in Chicago. And then my boy K2, another amazing production partner of mine, singer, songwriter, producer, just amazing triple threat. Yeah, just a great person, man. One of my favorite people on earth, man. We used to have some of the best talks and just literally all day long, bro. Just
y'all were
cracking
close.
up,
I remember
man.
that, man.
Yeah. Marvin McQuitty, one of my favorite drummers. Man, Fred Hammond. One of my favorite gospel artists back in the day, man, Pages of Life, the Purpose Bodies, and all that stuff, man. Just
DVDs, boy, we used to watch them
man.
joints. Wow.
The MGM Grand live in Vegas, bruh. Amazing. Nicole Hurst, amazing singer. Justin Timberlake.
Berkeley homie too, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know she went to Berkeley.
Dude, but she was in classes with my aunt. I met Nicole when I was 14, bro. I used to be in Boston with Yvonne, and she'd be up there and all the BPC shows and stuff, and then she went out there, went to LA. Yeah,
I never knew that. But yeah, she was the homie, man, super cool, who passed away some years ago. Daniel Jones, amazing keyboard player, also played with Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson. Amazing guy, man. His energy was incredible to be around. Anybody who knows him knows Daniel was just a great energy. Cornell Gaskins, who actually just passed away, amazing keyboard player, literally
gospel legend, man.
Corey Henry level type of talent, man, and just all he knew and all the different styles that he knew. Yeah. Sean Martin with Snarky Puppy, Kirk. We were just talking about the DVD. What's the DVD
Oh,
called?
Kimber live.
Yeah,
Kimber
just I think
live.
it's just called Live in Concert, right?
Yeah, it was in
Yeah,
Nashville
yeah.
or something. But yeah, that DVD.
Yeah. Oh man. So shout out to Sean, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are fans of Corey Henry saw Sean making all the faces that we made on the Lingus solo.
Yeah,
Where he was like, oh
Snuggy,
my God. Yeah, man. So I love to see a musicians who are amazing just be able to praise somebody else and just really be able to give their flowers to somebody. And it's you know the egos that come with this. So to see people who aren't in that ego and to be able to sit there and celebrate and enjoy a solo like that, I felt everything that was on his face, man, on that video.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Paris Bowen's one of my favorites. This is probably my biggest inspiration that made me really want to learn keys. Ty Tribbett was by far my biggest inspiration in gospel music, coming into my own in high school and really wanting to learn how to play, and the way he played and they approached their arrangements and everything, and a lot of that stuff, they were all, shout out to Soundcheck and Thad and Spank and Ty, who I just got to see them a couple months ago here in Atlanta, man. But Paris set an amazing standard. But yeah, shout out to Paris and his fam, Thomas Clay as well.
TC.
Yeah, I didn't know Thomas like that, but everything I heard him was nothing but amazing things. And then finally, I know you had mentioned yesterday Kevin Lemons as well, who had came to when we were playing at church together, came a couple times and sang, man. And so just shout out to all of them. I'm sure I'm missing so many other people.
There's one more cat. Did you know Brian Carson? He's an organist. He used to play with John P. Key. He was in Atlanta. He passed a couple years ago as well. He was William Murphy's.
What album? You know what album he played with John?
Nah, I don't know. It was like I feel like it was After Strength, but like he was one of the cats, man. Anybody watching the interview, if you know Brian Carson, Atlanta, I know they know who he is. But another beautiful soul, man, and an amazing gift. God, yeah, it's really surreal, bro. Like, and I know we all have our time, man. But like, man, when these people, like you said, when they were larger than life, when who they were was bigger than their gift, and they walk into a room and their light was that big, man. I think that's what makes it harder. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, they weren't just talented cats.
Yep.
And then you feel that void. You feel it a bit. I forgot about Marvin. God forgive me for I almost forgot that he was gone, mainly because he was such a fixture in like gospel, especially when we were coming up, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
man.
Like, oh man, yeah. But
yeah, it's an unfortunate thing we have to deal with, but that is why we're doing this podcast, to bring light to these things, to talk about it, to make it normal. That if you're going through health issues, reach out to somebody, get some help, get some advice, whatever you need to do.
Get a physical. Go to the doctor, go to the dentist, all those things, bro. Like I went 2 years ago when I first got out here, and the doctor was like, it was like, how long had it been since you had it around? I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, because you realize you just be going. The same thing with the dentist. Like I went recently, I had to have a tooth pulled, and I was like, I don't ever want to wait this long again. And I've been on this regimen for the past couple years, but like, man, we don't do it enough. We'd be like, I'll go later. I don't want to go to the doctor, because you'd be scared of what they're gonna say, man. But it's what you said earlier. I think we were alluding to this, but like, we're so responsive and reactive as a culture when stuff goes wrong, instead of like we talked about the maintenance. It's just like, bro, just you take your car to go get checked out. You take your body to go get checked out twice a year.
Yeah, be proactive.
Just to know where you are, man.
Yeah, go get that blood work, man. I think
absolutely.
Get the blood work. You can always go get your own herbs. You don't have to do the doctor's remedies in order to go get the test, because the test still work. I do not believe in pharmaceutical medicine at all. I believe in a natural way. But you get those tests to see what you need to balance out. Do I need to work on my kidneys? Do I need to work on my thyroid? Are my adrenal glands off? And those things you can look up different herbs. They're amazing herbalists. Shout out to Yaki, who supplied all our herbs for our detox. Yaki Awaken, an amazing herbalist who I respect so much, and how he has broken down the concept of disease and sickness, and really starting to relook at it as a sign from our bodies that it just needs to heal. and it's trying to heal by giving you these symptoms that we think is our body being broken, but it's actually our body trying to get those toxins out. So, man, listen to your body. You said it earlier, and I know exactly what you mean by you just listening to your body, bro. And it's a game changer, y'all. It's a game changer. But yeah, so we can get into some of the causes. You spoke on it a little bit in your experiences. You know, we've all been there. We've been on the road. I've toured around the world as well. And, you know, this lifestyle, man, this rock star lifestyle that we've unfortunately lost some of our biggest legends to has been glorified so much, has been the very thing that has killed them, ironically. And so, you know, the drinking, the late nights, getting off your circadian rhythm where you're supposed to be in balance or in sync, rather, with the sun, and waking up at a certain time. And, you know, all of that stuff plays into our health, man. The unhealthy food, the banned food late at night, you getting out a show at midnight and they bringing pizzas and wings, and that's it. And you eating that every single night.
And then going to sleep on it.
Right. Then going right to sleep. Not getting no sun. You're going from the tour bus to the venue, to the hotel, back to the tour bus, or to the studio. You in the studio all day. That's why, man, one day, my dream is I have my studio outside, bro.
Come on, man. Yeah.
I want to have the studio outside, man.
Listen, bro. I keep these doors open. This door right here is my quick little access to the green, bro. It's so important. But that's the thing, you said it earlier too. Like we didn't see grass and trees and things like that when you're on the road. Like maybe you pass a park when you're on the way to the venue.
Right.
But yeah, it's oh God, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so real. Also, the generational habits, you brought that up yesterday, and that was something I definitely wanted to touch on. The habits of our cooking and what we were snacking on. Like I grew up literally. When I did some reflection after I went plant-based and I started to learn about processed food and how bad it was, processed meats, you know, the lunch meat, the turkey meat, ham and stuff that we would make. That stuff is terrible. It's literally a carcinogen. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes. Like it is the equivalent to that in your body. It causes cancer, all these different things. But like literally growing up, every single meal, everything, I'm not kidding, every ingredient was processed, dairy, grains that were horrible for you, and meat with every meal. I never ate living food ever. I probably didn't have one meal that was fully whole until I had to be in my 20s. I don't even know when. Like, because even if you get a salad, the dressing's processed.
I was about to say,
it's got some citric acid and some words you can't, some maltodextrin or something. All these crazy words.
Or them beans got neck bones in them.
The beans got the collard greens got neck bones. So, or they getting them out of can. The green beans in the can.
Oh,
the corn
no.
in the can.
The can, good.
Everything, bro. So literally every single day, every single meal, processed meat, the sausage, the bread, the eggs, the lunch meat, the sandwiches, the fake cheese, all of it, man. So yeah, and that was really just for myself, just like looking back, it's like, yo, I really didn't eat nothing that was real. So I understand why I blew up when I started drinking, man. It was like compounded. It was compounded. Well, that was our norm.
Yeah, no, it was. And we talk about it, like I said, we talked the other day about evolution and growth. Every generation, it's important for us to raise the bar, right? And it's important to know where you come from, but it's also important to realize like what was good about where I come from and what was not good about where I come from. And like, you know, and I think that was a big thing for me too, man. It was like looking back and seeing all of the things that my grandmothers and my great aunts and them had to do because that's what they could afford at the time, right?
Yep.
And that goes back to slavery days, from cornbread and like the way that pork cracklings and neck bones and all the things. They only had access to the scraps, right? And they made the best with the scraps. But the thing is, it's 2024, baby. We don't gotta eat scraps no more. We don't gotta, and we don't, and that's not like because I know everybody's not. We ain't none of us rich, you know what I mean? But I do think that we have a choice and a decision to make when it comes to what we are allowing, what we are putting in our bodies. And I think it's not to me, it's not even necessarily a vegetarian, vegan, meat eater thing. It's just considering what the hell is going on inside of what you're putting inside of your body. We went organic recently too, and yeah, it's more expensive. You can't get the 3 packs of meat for whatever, you know how they do. But I'd rather have 1 pack of chicken that I know don't got all types of wild stuff and that been pumped. I was home and I bought some chicken to make when I was visiting last time, and yo, the chicken legs was like this big, bro. It was like these jumbo, like it was weird. And I realized in that moment, I was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just choices, man. At the end of the day, man, it's definitely choices. And I at this point in my life, I refuse to, especially like when we got here and started getting into gardening and like growing our own stuff. And, you know, I say that's the thing. I could say I got to give my grandmother credit, because although, and I'm sure there are some other people out there who've been through it, but like my grandmother did grow a lot of things. She always had a garden when I was a kid. And although there was points when there might be ham hock might find its way into the greens, there was still a lot of things that she did, fresh watermelons, fresh cantaloupes, and okra, and certain things that she would cook. And I think that was the seed of it, like realizing like, okay, because I talked about like that culture, the older generation, and how they used to do. But let me shine some light on the fact that they were actually trying to do something that a lot of us don't know how to do. Is one, be self-sufficient and provide for your family with good things, right? So I got to give her that, because I think part of why I ended up coming out here and then eventually getting to this place where I started growing a good bit of stuff was due to seeing that as a kid and knowing that in her heart she wanted to do the right thing, because she could have went and she could have been doing fat back and all this other stuff, or all this processed stuff. But for a good amount of years when I was a child, I remember her growing a lot of things. So, you know,
man.
Yeah,
no, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful seed that she planted, man, and I love how that's grown into you and what you guys are passing down to your daughter, man. Bruh, we all needed that, because I didn't get to see that part of my grandma, because she was already, you know, your grandma was luckily still in a little more rural area where she had a little more land, and my grandma was into all that stuff, but you know. You get married, you move to a city, or, you know, come to one of these military towns, and that's how she came to Columbus, Georgia, and all of that stuff eventually started going away, man. And so, yeah, it's beautiful that she kept that alive for you, and that you're going to continue to pass that down, man.
Yeah, trying to hold on to it, bro, because it's important, man. That was, if there was nothing else in my life that I remember her doing, going to church every Sunday and maybe on Friday nights and Saturdays too, and then growing things, man. Those were, yeah.
And I also think that's a big part of it. Like, just even talking about my grandma moving out of the environment that allowed her to be closer to nature is another big thing that I think we got to rethink, because we're always chasing that check. But along with these bigger cities and these companies and even you, like you were saying, with touring and all these things that take us out of our natural state, man. It takes us further away from our health. Yeah, everything, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, just not being outside like she was. I'm sure just that alone just really stifled that part of herself. So, I really want to get back into that for my family. My goal is to buy a bunch of land and for us to be able to live off of our own land, and everybody be able to build a house and pass it down, man. That's
communal,
Yeah, that's the legacy and the tribe that I'm really trying to build. And better late than never, no matter when you learn it or how many people may be further along in their process because of the privileges they have, that should never get in the way of us coming together to play catch up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Man.
No, I mean, especially now, because we have too much. We have access to too much. Like, I have friends who live in apartments who have like those towers, for growing herbs and vegetables, or even like people who've made. And you and I have talked about, you guys and your plans to make some beds and do some things, and like, it's just starting small and choosing to just make that shift. It's an uncomfortable thing for most people to not, it's easy to go and buy a pack of turkey that got hella sodium and all this stuff into it, or whatever, or it's easy to just run to to wherever and grab a burger or whatever. But, it takes a little more time to sit at home and know what you're, make something, bake something from scratch. Even just that. Like, I implore any of my musician homies, like, when you're not on the road, cook a meal. Like, you know what I mean? Take the time. And this isn't even just about, like, being, like I said, organic or vegan or whatever. But, like, take the time to put your hands into what you're doing. And that's, like, a therapeutic thing I know for me. Like, I cook 5 nights out the week because I got a family too. But like there's just something spiritual that comes along with like putting your hands in what you're putting into your body, if that makes any sense.
It does, 100%.
And then you add in, you got some fresh herbs from your porch that you've been growing, and you could throw those in it feels wonderful. It feels wonderful. And the endorphins and all the excitement of watching my child eat these things that I've either grown or made, is second to none, bro. I can't even explain it. So
and I know exactly what you're talking about because it's quantifiable that the connection between all living things, the plants are adapted to heal and to serve us. And we have adapted to heal and serve the plants. We inhale oxygen from the plants, from the trees. We exhale CO2. They inhale that, and it is what gives them nutrients for their chlorophyll, which is the equivalent of its blood. So literally touching it now gives it your DNA and footprint in a sense that I know what I am serving and what it needs and how I need to benefit this person just by touching it, by going out in the garden and being in the soil. I even know someone who, and sorry, this is a little much, but she threw up one day outside in the grass.
Okay.
And some dandelions ended up growing. Dandelions is one of the greatest herbs that you can use. So I did dandelion leaves and some of the detox herbs that I did. And so literally it took whatever she threw up and whatever came out of her body and said, this is what you need. And I just thought that was crazy. She was like, nothing ever grows in her grass. And all of a sudden in that very same spot, dandelions grew. So man, we're all connected. Everything.
I was just about to say, my father-in-law regularly comes down and takes a pee on our lemon tree. Citric in our uric, like, bro. And he's like, this is great for them. And our compost, like, it's a mixture of dead things, right? Tree bark, all those things, like old peels and all that. And then it's a mixture of horse crap. That mixed up is what goes into my garden every time I'm redoing my soil.
100%.
Bro, it's the circle of life for sure.
It is, and that's why I personally believe, like, when I die, I want to be planted. I don't want to be in a coffin. I want my body to be used and to go back to be useful to this earth. So man, it's a beautiful thing, man, and that's like really for me over the years. I had some transition spiritually in some of the things that I believe, but that's what I think God is, man. It's just it's everything being a reflection of God and being this way that God is able to experience creation in all of these multitudes of different ways. And we're just one big organism. We're just all 8 billion of us are just tiny little cells in this big old body that we call the earth, man. And the rivers and in the water or the blood, they make up 70-some% of the earth, just like our bodies are 70-some% of water, and our cells, 150 trillion of them, make up us. Well, at least as black people. But yeah, man, that's what I think God is. It's science. It's that union of just all living things, man. I just think it's a beautiful thing. And I've learned to have so much empathy and be in awe of those things now. Ironically, I'm not as religious, but I'm so much more spiritual and tapped into myself and the earth and other people and plants and animals like I've never had before, man. So I love that you brought that up, man.
And I love that comparison, man. I love that perspective. You think about the wildfires and you think about global warming and just everything that's going on, and you think about, like we were talking about, when you listen to your body, things happening within your body, like, oh, my body doesn't like this, so now it's crying out, right? It's the same thing. You wonder why seasons are messed up. You wonder why there's tsunamis and all these random things.
Yep.
It's like,
the
like you
government
compared the body to the earth. That's what I'm thinking. It makes so much sense, bro.
Yeah, man. Because the government, they're playing with creation. You can't do that. You can't play with creation. And anytime you go against nature, nature has to give you a blowback.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you go against nature, it will tell you, no, this is not right. I need to do something drastic to get your attention.
Yeah.
And I also thought about this on the perspective of we're seeing everything on Earth right up here close and personal. Imagine if we're up in the air 200,000 feet. What does all of these cities and all this concrete look like randomly when you see all of these trees and all of this dirt and grass and stuff, and then all of a sudden you see all of this concrete and stuff everywhere in these cities? That looks like cancer. That looks like a tumor. That looks like a bunch of things that weren't supposed to be together that all came together to create something that's not natural and that doesn't need to be here, man. And so, yeah, just, bruh.
And then you go to the rainforest or you go somewhere into a country that's not like soup, that's heavy on the agriculture, and you see what that looks like. And it's like, it's fresh and the water's flowing and the blood is flowing, right?
Yep.
Like we talked about, like,
Yep.
There's no diabetes there. There's no high blood pressure. There's no hypertension.
None of it, man.
It's so simple when you think about it like that. Like that's a really good. I don't know if you have a diagram yet, or if you've thought about like, or if you've seen this before. But like I'll say, for what you're about to do, I think that's a really great way to make the average person understand. Because it's hard to have these conversations, especially about the environment with people. They think it's like, oh, I just threw a bottle on the ground. Somebody will pick it up. And it's like, no, bro, do you know where that's going to end up? Do you know what that, like, is so much, you know? But yeah, bro, good. You're doing good work, man. And I love that comparison. Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, bro. But yeah, man, it's definitely something I'm going to run with that analogy. It's something me and Jade have talked about before. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to just keep letting this stuff come out, man, because it's in me, bro, and I've just been itching to talk about a lot of this stuff, man. So
yeah. Well, I think that also leans itself to what I believe is important for us as independent creatives as well. Well, because this is creative. Get out of your own way, man. When you feel led to do and be something, do that. And this is my PSA right now because of what you're doing and how much of a difference I know it's going to make. And also because it is kind of going against the grain. It's not popular, right? Or maybe it is popular right now. But like, I don't know, man. I really, you guys you've done a great job with being consistent with your brand, and everything is all cohesive and it makes sense and you're making a difference. I was just talking to the artist that I worked with yesterday, actually. I was like, you heard of you and Jade? And he was like, yo, man, I've been on this stuff for mad long. And like, I love the last album and everything to do with astrology and all this stuff. And it was like, and it's cool for me because I'm like, he doesn't realize how far we go back. But like, to see it manifest, and it's more than just the music. It's hitting in a different way. So, you know, it's working, man. It's working.
Nah, that's beautiful to hear, man. You know, that never gets old, bro. And just grateful for the journey and just to learn to live in our authenticity, and we will find our tribe and just continue to be a light. And and same with you guys, man. Same with you guys, yo. That we need to see more just partnership and people working together and building businesses and passing on legacy and generational wealth, man. So kudos to you guys too, man.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
So I would love for you to get into a little bit of your personal experience. You talked about it a little bit, but just your personal experiences with your own health issues, and I guess if there was, you talked about the catalyst of, you know, not wanting to tour anymore, and just in terms of the loneliness and that emptiness. But what was it for you? Just you said Lucy. You did say Lucy. So, but
I mean, she was a part of it, but there was something more.
Was there something just in terms of like your health issues, or just talk about your whole experience just with your health issues and the gastritis?
Yeah. So like I said, I think I started experiencing it like late 2015, early 2016. I started having these experiences where I would, if it was late at night, and it would always happen at night, and if I was having a drink or if I was eating something really spicy, and I would have this feeling in the pit of my stomach, and it would feel like something was not exploding, but just like this bursting kind of feeling. And then the next thing you know, it was like debilitating, and it was kind of like burny, and like, man, it was terrible. And I think it started in New York City, and I wound up in a hospital in Queens, and then maybe a couple months later it happened with the San Fran, and then it happened again in like somewhere else. And I just, like I said, I was so busy at the time, and I was doing so much that I didn't realize what was actually going on. So I went in and I saw a specialist, and I realized, and they diagnosed me and just told me, it was like, you really got to take a breather from this, whatever you're doing to yourself, And that was a combination of, like I said, the drinking, the eating late, and then the bigger part of it was the stress. So I remember when I got home off, I don't remember what tour I was on, but I got home in like 2016, and I just had this strong desire to be outside. And I just started giving myself like a couple days throughout the week, man. I stopped working on Mondays, and Mondays used to be my day, and I'd get out and I'd go to Piedmont, and I'd walk, or I'd take my shoes off in the grass, and I would just sit there, and like, I don't know, it was a slow transition for sure, because it took a couple years for me to like get to a point where like I was actually, making those shifts. I started shopping it, instead of going to Kroger, I started going to Trader Joe's, and I started putting more greens into my body. And obviously they had me on like Prilosec OTC and like anything to deal with like long-term, gut health stuff. But yeah, I think the change, it was like I said, it was just, I just knew my body wasn't happy with me.
Yeah.
And so it started, like I said, with more greens, more being outside, more drinking more water, taking more walks, started doing therapy, because the other part of it wasn't just the health side, like my physical health, it was my mental health. And not realizing that my lifestyle coupled with childhood traumas that I had never dealt with, which is a whole nother thing, right? Because you get into this professional industry and people expect you to be the guy and be on, and you can't be broken. Not in our line of work as MDs and band leaders. You got to show up and do the things, right? And I didn't realize a lot of the things that I was kind of suppressing with the alcohol or with women or with whatever I was doing at the time was all just, it was deeper. So I started going to therapy in late 16, and I would go maybe every other month, and I started looking in the mirror, man, and I didn't like who I saw. Simply put, I didn't like who I saw. And I didn't like the man that I was becoming. And on paper, it looked good. But I remember feeling like, man, if anybody really knew what I really was feeling like, it didn't, And I didn't want to live that way anymore, man. I wasn't happy. And that's a harsh reality, like, because anybody who knew me or who saw me on the road or on TV or any of the things that I was doing, it looked like everything was beautiful. But inside, I was slowly just like, it was bad. Yeah, I wasn't addressing the issues with my family. I wasn't addressing issues with myself. And I hit a wall. And then I had a kidney stone. I was on the road. I was
I remember that.
So it was like all of this stuff was happening. And it's so funny, man, because like, not to get all deep, but it was like my body was, like we were talking about earlier, it's like all this stuff is coming out. And I think that it's because of the food and the alcohol, but it's actually so much other stuff, right? And from the gastritis to the kidney stone to just like having just like some really low moments, man, I just knew that there was time for a shift. So yeah, I think it was a combination of things, and my decision to better myself had to do with, like I said, meeting my partner and also just curating my playlist, bro. I'm not gonna hold you, man. Like, we talked about the music that we're listening to.
Yeah, facts.
The gigs that I was taking, the rooms that I would be in, not hanging out after shows, going home. Like, it's so easy just to stick around, even when I'm in town or at the studio. It's like, okay, well, if I'm done with my part, I'm gonna go to the crib versus staying here for a couple extra hours and getting myself caught up into some mess. Sleep when I'm dead. That mentality, bro.
That's the one.
Probably was a big part of my struggle and a lot of our struggles. It's like the idea that like, oh, I gotta be the best. I gotta go hard. I gotta get a smash, or I gotta get better. I gotta be the best. And I hate to say it, but like a couple of those cats that you mentioned, man, I remember some stories because a couple of those guys I knew personally, and I knew that they battled with this, like, I have to be the best demon in their mind, so much so it started coming out in their relationships and in the things that were happening professionally in their careers. And I'm not talking junk. I'm just saying because I know this personally. It happened to me too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when it starts coming out in the wash, it's like, all right. You know what I mean? You look back at a picture of yourself and be like, oh, I was not good there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
Like I was in a really dark space right there. And sometimes you don't know it. I use this analogy too. It's like sometimes you got to breathe out, take a step back and smell your own breath.
Facts.
Because you don't know sometimes. You just be talking to people and you don't even know your breath smell like, You know what I mean? Like, and so I think that's it. Reflection, bro. Having conversations with yourself. Having, therapy. I'll say this, man, because therapy is such a blanket statement. It's such a, and it doesn't work unless you work it.
Mm-hmm.
Simply
Facts.
put.
You got to do the work after. The real work is after therapy.
Bro. Like, I hate when people be like, oh, I've been to therapy. It don't work for me. No, because they're not there to fix your freaking problems, bro.
Nope. They're just there to give you a tool to help you solve your own shit, man. That's the only way you can do it.
And also to be a sounding board, bro, because sometimes you don't even want to say this shit out loud. Like, we suppress so much and we don't say it to our other people, to our friends, like we were talking about earlier. And we're not going to be like, yo, bro, I got a drinking problem to our best friend because you don't want them to judge you or whatever, right?
Right.
So go to therapy. At least they don't know you. You know what I mean? You can say
Facts.
whatever the hell you need to say, get it off your heart. And then when you hear it back and they say it to you in a way that you never, and it's like, oh man, you're right. Like I actually do got some shit on my lip I need to get. Let me wipe that off real quick. You know what I mean? Anyway.
And then I think that makes you just knowing that you can say it and that it's okay. That then allows a lot of people to then start opening up to the people in their lives, man. And we need more of it, man. We need so much more transparency in this world. And know y'all got a safe space, man. There's so many beautiful people out here. I know this world feeds us trash and fear and this side versus this side all the time, but there are so many beautiful people who are coming into their higher selves and that just want to be a blessing and help somebody, man. So go talk to somebody, y'all, seriously. But and then so first of all, to go back to just the stuff that you dealt with on the health tip, how unfortunate that was and also how necessary that was, especially when you don't see it, those wake-up call moments. And for those of you who are having those wake-up call moments and you're ignoring them, man, please let this be your invitation to go figure it out and make a change, because we've all been there. Most people don't know this about me. I got up to 255 pounds. I'm only 170 pounds now, and I never thought I would be that big. I was this size in high school, and just like literally within a couple years just blew up, drinking, only eating one primary meal a day, eating super late at night, and everything I was eating was all the things that you talked about earlier, so I don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, man, and I was trying to think, like, what was really my catalyst? I'm not even really sure what it was. I know it happened in LA. I know that had something to do with it, but I don't know if it was a particular thing. But when I went on tour with Tony Braxton and I was actually about to come back to propose to Jay, so maybe it was that. Maybe I was like, I'm about to get married. I got to get my shit together.
I was about to say, because you made it, you were one of the first ones, bro, in our crew, man. Like, that was really, and I remember it because I remember like you coming back and like, we regularly get together and eat and drink and have certain meals, certain things, and like
facts.
You're like, nah, man, I'm not, I ain't doing that no more. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, let's go do this. Let's go get some whatever.
Right.
But yeah, dude, you were one of the first cats I knew personally, but I didn't know if it was LA or if it was Jade or if it was but I remember the shifts for sure. Yeah,
similar to you, I was disgusted with myself, and like I said earlier, I just didn't want to like give it light, man. I don't know why. I just kind of ignored it, and but I felt terrible, bro. I remember, I never forget this. I met Sean Stockman just online. He had just been supporting our stuff or whatever, and he's like, when you went out in LA, man, let's connect. So I went out there, and I didn't have some clothes. Like, I was getting big, and I was like, I'm not buying no new goddamn clothes, bro. I remember I had to go buy some new pants, bro, and I was like, yo, this is the only thing that I'm ever going to buy that's bigger than a 34. I was like, because I couldn't do it. I was literally wearing the tightest clothes ever because I was like, I'm not about to get comfortable here.
Yeah.
And but I know that was one of the things, man. Going to hang with Sean, I went to the mall to buy some stuff, bro, and I brought like some 39s or something size pants, and I was like, never again, bro. And it took a while, but when we finally moved to LA, I was like, I'm gonna get this together, and yeah, just one thing after another. At first it was the vegan junk food, and then I started to slow down on the liquor, and then I started doing more raw. During the pandemic and starting to learn more about that, and just, you know, it's like, cool, I don't want to just be plant-based just for the animals. I want to be plant-based for my health.
Yeah.
And just really learning what nutrition really was, and just eating more raw foods that haven't been cooked. For those who don't know, a lot of the nutrients in our food when we cook it gets cooked out of it because we're literally taking the life force, the blood or the water out of the food. So that's where all the nutrients is. So steam your stuff. If you're going to do it, sweet potatoes are fine, but you know, as much as you can, try to incorporate some raw food into your day, especially your first meal. Smoothies that was my first way into like living a healthier lifestyle. It's like, cool, my first meal every day. If I'm gonna eat some bullshit, at least my first meal gonna be a smoothie.
Yeah, no, facts.
And that's what I started with, man, and I slowly trended to what I spoke about earlier and where we are now. But yeah, man, we've all had our our journeys, man, and I'm just so grateful that we're here now. And I'm curious, so at this point, what keeps you away from the temptations and the old habits and addictions? What is that for you that is like, nah, I'm good on that. I don't have to go back to that anymore. How you been able to fight those things?
My family, my daughter and my partner, and wanting to be around, bro. I want to be the best father and partner that I can be, and I know that a lot of that toxic just behavior is not conducive to me having what I have, and it's not worth it. Like we were talking about yesterday, like I came back to the States recently and had like almost 2 month period away from my girls, and a lot of temptation to eat foods I probably shouldn't. And I definitely enjoyed a couple things, but like, man, after a couple days of eating like American Deli, and I think I told you this, I was like disgusted with myself. I was like, I felt filthy. I was like,
it don't feel the same no more, bro. I'm like, cool, we have a cheat day, go eat me
whatever
some vegan,
it is,
some vegan quesadillas, and I be like, ugh, it don't feel right.
Nah, it's, you know, and I think that's it. It's like anything that's gonna disrupt my peace, Devin. I've never had peace like this in my life, and and a lot of it has to do with just living my way, doing things the way that I feel is good for my life and my spirit. And so that being said, I think it's my family, and I owe it to 12-year-old Dre that 13-year-old Dre that didn't think I would ever see or experience half the things that I have. So I owe it to myself, bro.
Yes, sir. That inner child work is so important, man, and reaffirming the things that they needed and loving on that person, that old version of yourself is, man, that's some healing work, man.
Well, it's the old version, but it's also, for me at least, it's the very present version of myself that also fuels my dreams and fuels my creativity. That child still lives if I allow it to live. Like, there was a song I did, a lyric that talked about it. Like, I can't even remember, but it basically was like, Lord forgive them because they forgot how to dream or something like that. But like, it's like when you grow up and you get responsibilities, that child, you know, you forget about that child. And for me, what keeps me driven to do the right things is that this child gets a chance to live a better life. Experience, and also continues to fuel my everything. So that's really what drives me, bro.
Yep. And then now your daughter is gonna have it even better, man. And that's what I love about it. And I want to play a little bit. I don't know how much of this I'll actually be able to put on the episode, but I did want to play you some of Big Sean's new song. It's called On Up. So yeah, you get the gist of it, man. I just thought that was beautiful and so fitting that he just dropped this. Everything we just talked about, from the legacy and passing it down and understanding that we're not going to be here one day, and that life isn't a rat race, that we have to take time for ourselves and our health and our family, and to think about more, like you were saying earlier, like, it ain't about just being a great MD and being on the road all the time. You had to slow down and be like, nah, I'm taking Mondays off.
Bruh.
I'm going and I'm enjoying myself and my alone time and connecting with nature, man. It's just, man, life is just so much bigger. You know, than what we make it. And we've talked about this so much over the years, but just balance, man. That had been my word for so long, because I knew that I was way more focused on my career than I was anything else. And I felt that imbalance in so many other parts of my life, from my health and mental health, my focus, my scheduling, my diet, everything, man. And it's like, and when we start to clean up all those things, that's when you start firing on all cylinders. Learning new things ain't daunting no more. You know, starting that business ain't so scary no more. Yeah, man, it all plays into everything. And we truly believe here at Let There Be Art that health and business is holistic, and one can't continue to grow unless everything else is growing along with it, because it will stop, because we're holistic people. We need all parts of us to be kicking on all cylinders. We don't just need one vitamin in our body. We need a multitude of vitamins and minerals in our body that come together to make this amazing vehicle that we have work. So, yeah, man, just shout out to Big Sean again, man.
Yeah,
I just thought it was really crazy that both of those came out the same day.
I'm about to download that joint because it's so good, man.
Yeah, it is, man. I want to talk about New Zealand for a second. I was curious, just the differences for you. Obviously, it's helped you. It's been a better atmosphere for you to do a lot of these healthier things with gardening and having more fresh produce and, the things that you guys are doing there. So I was just curious of the differences of living in America your whole life and then these past couple years living in New Zealand.
Yeah, no, it's definitely night and day. I like to tell people in the best way possible, I feel like I'm back in 2001 or something. I don't know. It's weird. Not even that. I mean, it's just living in a smaller country, you find that people, it's kind of like small town living, it's very close, very traditional, old school ways. Like they hold on to very simple things. People still listen to the radio here. Like it's people, you might be in the grocery store and see someone walking around barefoot. You're probably going to see about 7 people walking around barefoot. There's birds in the airport. It's an island. It's island culture. So it's very, it's just very free, very green. It took a while for me. Coming from a major city like Atlanta, we pretty much in the equivalent of like kind of like the rainforest. It's we're like very removed, very rural. And so the closest McDonald's is 25 minutes away, 30 minutes away. The malls and big city is like 40 minutes, 50 minutes away. So like, don't have the luxuries of all of that. And that's the thing I want people to understand, because like someone always be like, oh man, you live in New Zealand, what you doing out there? It's like, yeah, it's nice, but it's a culture shock. And that was the first thing that I had to get. Like I had to get desensitized from the fact that like I don't hear sirens, I don't hear cars. The only people coming up our road are people that live on our road. So at night it was really weird. I'd be leaving the studio, walking outside, and it's like deafening silent. It's so silent. But as soon as I got through that and I realized there's no chicken spots and no pizza spots on the corner, I realized that this level of peace and solitude and being away from it all was exactly what I was longing for so long. And I'm so grateful to be here and to be in a space where I can be just be outside a lot more, and I don't have as many distractions. I walk every day. Every day I'm walking. We got a nice big long road to go up and come back down, and there's trees and woods and water and creeks, and I've just learned to tap into that. I think honestly I had no choice, because I had a baby on the way when we first got here, and like we're just out here, and I stopped fighting it, and I was like, oh, this is really great for me. So yeah, it's been great. It's been a challenge from a standpoint of just having access to certain things, but like once I realized that like the value in like getting outside and gardening, like her father, my father-in-law, he gardens and super green thumb. And we went through that process of like, he taught me some things that were really important in my growth for growing things. And I fell in love with being outside. I fell in love with learning what crops worked in certain seasons. You know, like it's cold now. I'm about to do broccolis and like cabbages and things like that. And that's the other thing that's weird because we're here, certain fruits and vegetables and things you can't even buy at the grocery store because we're so far from everything, you know.
Yeah.
Sneakers, a pair of J's gonna cost you about $400, where you might pay $200 in the States, you know.
Right.
I'm trying to think what other things that are black sand beaches.
Amazing, bro. I remember going out there. My homeboy went surfing out there. We was on tour with Tony Braxton.
Yeah. Oh, the surfing. Well, it's beautiful out here for surfing, bro. I think I told you, but like New Zealand is built on there were 2 volcanoes. Like there's the South and the North Island, and it's just all volcanic land. So like that's where you get the black sand and like that kind of thing. But yeah, man, no, it's been great. It's been everything that I think I needed in order to find myself. And I think that no matter where you are in the world, I think it's important for you to find a place to go to be just like you in the water and the grass and the trees. And so, yeah, no, it was great. The industry here is still thriving. There's got a couple offices here, and the talent here is superb. I've been able to work with a lot of really, really gifted people here, and, you know, so enjoying that. And my daughter loves being outside, and she loves running in the woods, and you know, we took her on a nature hike the other day. And so, yeah, man, it's a great place. I think that is exactly what I personally needed just for where my life is headed.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And it takes me back to what I was saying about my grandma and leaving that more rural environment, man. And you see how coming into these cities causes so much, you know, mental health problems, man, not being in it. So I love that you were able to experience the reverse of it and going from a city life to a more rural life. And I think, like I said earlier, you know, I think that's where we got to get back to a little more for us to really thrive, you know, as humans, to be a little more in our natural habitat. And in that though, you know, the declining mental health of the cities, you see a lot more gun violence. Like there's like virtually like no gun violence like at all in New Zealand and a lot of other countries. But I know New Zealand's like nothing, right?
The cops don't carry guns here.
For what?
I went to a concert. I went to shout out to the homie Paige. He was here in town with an Ariel.
With SZA?
Yeah, with SZA. So
we went, dope.
Yeah, I went and hung out with them a couple months ago, and I walked into the venue, and then I walked back out, and I was like, oh crap, there's no metal detectors here. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about, like, I think that's the realest thing about being here is like it's back to the basics. It's back to, like, you know, before the perversion, before some technology, before you know, yeah, it's that. So I'm grateful for that. But I also realize that this is definitely a privilege because I know that in America, I know as most people know, I go back and forth. So I still understand what it is in the world we live in. But like, that's all the more reason for like what you're talking about and like looking to invest in land and find space for you and your family to be self-sufficient. So you don't have to deal with the thing. Like all my homies that are at this point in the music industry, most of them live on the outskirts. Most of them don't want to live in the major cities. Right. And it's, because you got to, like you say, you got to find that piece of happiness for yourself because it's rough, you know?
Yeah, man. And, you know, I think the mental health plays a lot into, you know, even the music culture here. And I definitely wanted to touch on this. This is my last question, and we'll get into some segments to end this out. But it's clear that we're super unhealthy and sick, and just as a society, and it's not just physical. You know, it's the mental health that plays into it. It's the trauma, like you spoke on earlier, you know, the emotional pains that we go through, the things that we don't deal with or confront. And all those things, even the mental health, like you said, the stress, they show up as physical ailments in our bodies. And then also the music that we listen to, that messaging and the programming of the misogyny, the killing, the drug use, the alcohol use, the pitting men and women against each other, looking at women and objectifying them and looking at them as lower than the queens that they are, that we should brag that we are sleeping with them and not caring about them. And for that to be so normalized and us being so close to that industry, you know, we worked a lot more in R&B and pop and some and other things, but you know, it's hip hop is right there and we're right next to it. We've both done work with hip hop artists. So yeah, I was just really curious of just in what ways or have you had to like turn down a gig because you didn't want to be in that environment, or how much does someone's content or the camp that they curate around them, you know, plays into the decision of you working with them? And have you ever like turned down a gig or opportunity because of like negative views or negative camp or energy?
Yeah. No, definitely. I've definitely had to walk away from some situations. And I've also had to be a part of some situations that it was not my cup of tea. Like you said, this is our job, right? And just because your boss at McDonald's when you were 16 was a terrible person, you still had to show up and do the job, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a balance of the two, whatever that means. But I'll say for me personally, that was like at the end of my touring career, man, was like I would get these calls to go and play this one specific label. We would have these showcases and like we were playing with, and I was MDing at the time, and we'd be playing with all these really big hip hop artists for the past like 5-6 years, like from the past like 5, 6, 7 years. And you know what they were talking about. And I watched how powerful, this is again what I was saying earlier about artists not knowing the power of influence that they have on the culture and on the masses. And I would watch these artists singing and rapping these songs, and there's kids in there between 17 and grown people 27, 28, but like singing all these words back to him, and it was just toxic, and it just made me feel like it just didn't feel good, man. It wasn't. I didn't enjoy the gig. I didn't enjoy the money really. And at a point I had to take a step back. I think we ended up passing the gig on to some younger cats who enjoy that. I just personally, for me, man, I couldn't. Certain things I just can't stand behind. You know what I'm saying? And all money ain't good money. It's
not, bro.
So I've definitely had to do that. It was something I was gonna say because you sparked something in my. But yeah, no, it's definitely hard, especially because of what we do. You know, we get those calls and you want to be able to pay the bills and do what you got to do, but you just gotta weigh it out and be like, is this something that I want attached to my, you know, to my name and to my brand, and also like having to, especially in our position when you're arranging and listening to this music all day long
all day, bro.
Yeah, and then you find yourself saying it and talking about, and it's just, you don't realize how much this, and I know it sounds really like woo woo, but like this stuff gets into your brain and into your spirit, you know.
It is programming for sure.
And not to mention, as a culture, we've been in this really, really toxic space, and not realizing that the bigger machine that makes these things work, they're not even eating this stuff, but they'll feed it to our own kids. They'll feed it to 100%. Our kids and our children, and they'll feed it to, you know what I mean? And we eat it right up, right? Because it's that's culture, and it's like, nah, man, there's other stuff out there to eat. There's other stuff to take in. You just choose to do that, and we set ourselves back. Yeah, and we wonder why our kids are walking around here talking crazy and saying things that they saying and doing the things that they doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, man, I think it's an agenda for sure. And, you know, there's been people over the past few years that have come out to talk about it, man. But there was a clear agenda in the private prison movement where there ended up being some record executives that ended up speaking out about this, but that they had a meeting with a lot of the top record executives. I want to say it was either very late 80s or in the first part of the 90s, where they said, okay, we have a new direction for what we're taking hip hop. And a lot of people, especially if you grew up listening to hip hop in the late 70s and 80s, you know, it definitely wasn't the majority of the music that was talking about all the shit that we're talking about is, you know, that is saying now. And there was a lot of revolutionary, themes and activism and Pan-Africanism and
HD and KRS-One, those cats were talking about something, yeah.
And they did not want the next iteration of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King in this new form of rap, and they had to shut it down. And they all these white executives purposely signed people who were going to feed toxicity to their community so they could put the people who were listening to him who were going to carry these things out, because a lot of times the artists ain't doing this shit for real. They're just getting a check.
Exactly.
And they're putting these people in jail because it is normalized, and they're hearing this on the radio and seeing this on TV right after school every single day, man. And that was all to lock us up because they started private prisons. And the more you have occupancy, the more you get funding from the government.
Yep.
So how are you now incentivizing putting people in jail by getting money? It's one of the most crooked things ever, right up there with having money in politics. You can never get the true version of someone if there's a check involved. And we know that even on a lower level, like you just said, sometimes we just got to get that check, and we got to go play with the artist who's talking about some bullshit.
Yeah.
And so, but this is on a whole nother level, man. You know, and unfortunately, they've paid their bills and become billionaires off the backs of people who just don't know no better and are being raised by the radio. So we just got to do better, man. We got to be aware of these things. We got to start teaching our kids. We got to start monitoring what we're listening to. And I'm so grateful. And I didn't necessarily understand at the time, but that my parents were aware of what I was listening to and made me feel uncomfortable, that there were certain things that you just didn't say. And to this day, man, I can't just listen to it without, I'm a songwriter, and so I can't listen to it without, like, what are you trying to tell me? What am I doing with this song? What is it inspiring me to do? So, you know, it's enough. We've been doing this shit for way too long, and it's time for a shift. And it's happening. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take more people like us just speaking up about it. So, yeah, man, such a great conversation. But we can move on to our segments and close this out. So I would love to know. So this segment's called Dream and Nightmare. Obviously, being in the industry comes with its highs and lows, and we have things that have been absolutely amazing and things that have been absolutely terrible. So I would love to know a dream and nightmare scenario, of a nightmare story of your career and something that you learned from it, and then a dream come true experience, and how did that experience manifest for you?
Okay, so nightmare, we'll go first, right? Yeah. Or is it the same thing?
No. It's two different things. Yeah, do nightmare.
Cool.
That's fine.
We'll go nightmare first.
Okay.
So I was on tour with this artist and Band of Brothers. We were all there, and we were in Europe, and we were moving so fast. We were doing I think we were playing we had it was 14 dates in 18 days or something. It was crazy. New artists, so of course they're like, oh, we gotta hit it while we were everywhere. Amsterdam, London, Berlin, all these places. So anyway, we had just left Amsterdam. We left early in the morning. We had a show the night before in Amsterdam. We left at 5 a.m., got to London, and then we went straight to a festival. And we were at the festival. We played, and we were there all day long. We didn't even see the hotel. We dropped out. We didn't even drop our bags. We left our bags in our little tent or whatever at the festival. Mm-hmm. So partied all day, played our show, get ready to head back to the hotel to sleep for 2 hours because we have a 3 a.m. lobby call to go to Ireland. So this is 3 days in a row we're playing shows. It's heat of summer, 98, 100 degrees. It's just everything, right? Plus drinking and doing other things.
Right.
Man, we mess around, get back to the hotel, and I sit at the bar. I'm like, I'm not going to go to bed because meet this lady. We end up talking for a while. And then I look at the clock and it's 2-something and we got lobby call in 30 minutes. So I go back to my room, grab my bags, grab all my stuff, and we head to the airport. I get to the airport and we're going to check in, and I'm losing my crap because I can't find my passport. I'm MD at this time, so I'm running playback, Pro Tools, new artists. They didn't want to have a playback guy, so I'm doing 3 jobs playing. Yep. Anyway, man, I took everything out of all of my bags and cases, and it sprawled all over the Delta area in the airport, and I could never find my passport. So the boys have to go on without me to Ireland and do the show. And Slim knew playback, so he was able to take it over. And I pre-recorded my bass parts in playback, MD, so you got to have yourself in the box just in case anything ever happens.
Right.
But, man, I stayed in that airport for almost 2 days. They wouldn't let me go back to America. They wouldn't let me go to Ireland because I didn't have a passport. And then it took almost 48 hours for Delta to get in touch with I think it was the embassy, the American embassies, so that they could clear me to be able to fly back home.
Oh my!
Ask Andre Bowman. Andre Bowman knows because we were on the same flight going back to America. 'Cause while we were in London. I think while we were in Europe, we had ran into each other, and so we laughed about it all the way on the plane back. BB Rexha was on BB Borelli was on my flight too.
Okay, word.
So I met her, and we were all talking, and it was a wild time. But it was for me. It was one of those moments. I realized I'm always going to keep my passport in the same place. I have a very specific pocket. But the other part of it is, the truth of it is, and I can say this now, man, when you're moving that fast and you have that many shows and you have that level of responsibility, there's no room for error like that. You know, that's when you cut it and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to stay at the festival all day. I'm going to go to the hotel early, catch an Uber, and I'm going to go get at least 4 hours of sleep. And I'm make sure my passport's where I know it should be.
Facts.
And again, man, we were young, and to be completely honest, they were burning us out, bro. And that's the other part of, like, when you're young, you don't have management. You're just thirsty for the gigs and for the money. You're not considering, like, the wear and tear on your body and your mind and trying to remember things. And, like, so you live and you learn. But
I know what trip you talking about too, man. I remember that. I didn't remember the passport situation, but I know what trip you talking about.
Yeah, there was a couple things. That was a very wild trip. We had a great time. Like, every other show was great. Like, we went all over Europe, but like that was. And I'm pissed because I never got to go to Ireland. I've never been to Ireland now, and I think when I go, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, finally, because I missed out, and it's always gonna make me think back to that time. But
facts, man. That's crazy.
But yeah, just and then also you learn, the real thing. That other thing I learned is we're such a valuable part of these artists and their what they do, and you can't take that for granted. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, granted, Slim knew how to hold it down, but like if it wasn't for him knowing, that could have went down.
Facts.
That could have been really bad, and that would have been my reputation. Thankfully enough, at that point, people knew enough that I was a good guy and I could show up and deliver. But stuff happens. And you don't want that kind of stuff to happen.
Facts.
So anyway, yeah, that was my, I think, only real like nightmare moment like that.
Got you. Okay. And what about the dream come true?
Dream come true. When I was a kid, I'd wake up before I had to go to bed on Saturdays. I think my bedtime was like 10 o'clock. But at 9 o'clock, the Apollo always came on. Showtime at the Apollo. And I think from the time I was like 6 or 7 years old, I would watch it. And always at the end of the Apollo, my mom would let me stay up sometimes. She'd let me stay up to about 11. So I'd watch it. And then I would always want to stay up just till like 11:30 because they would do the kids segment, Apollo Kids. And at the end of it, they had the number and the emails, or not email, back then it was like the address to write a letter in to submit tape, VHS. I'm telling my age. Anyway, so I would watch the kids segment, but for so many times I would always fall asleep before they had the number and the address, So I never got to send in the tape, but I always dreamed about it and I always prayed about it. When I was 16 years old and I was in high school, the Apollo came on tour to Schenectady, and my band at the time, the Hamilton Hill Steel Drum Band, we ended up winning a competition locally and were invited to perform at the Apollo. And for the 10-year-old kid in me, that was everything that I ever wanted, But not only that, we played the Apollo one time and then we won about 3 times, and so much so to the point where they decided they wanted to write a book about us, and they wrote a book about us. Steel drumming at the Apollo, rode Super Top Dogs, rode something like that. You can look it up on Google. But basically, and then by the time I was starting Berkeley, my freshman year at Berkeley, we were invited back to the Apollo again to do a book signing. And you know this very well. People don't know this, but we made a super band basically, because the original band was only like 6 of us, but we invited a couple homies, including Devin here, to come and play the Apollo. And we had our name on the marquee. And I mean, for anyone in music, and like, granted, this was pre-Instagram and all that stuff. So like, but for me and for all of us, I think knowing that Stevie, Michael, being able to come out and rub the log, you know what I mean? And being on the stage where all these people, and this was before any of us had done anything major. Yeah. I think you were just working through your deal. You might not even had it yet.
That was literally the biggest stage I had ever played on, not in terms of numbers, but just in notoriety, for sure. Yeah. That was
All of us.
huge. Such a staple for Black culture, and to be in Harlem, birth of the Harlem Renaissance, and just all the talent and innovation that came out of that time. Like you said, all the legends that came through there. So shout out to the Apollo and all the Black establishments that gave Black artists a shot to be able to showcase what they do, because that was huge for us, man. We had a great time. We went and we played in the mall too. Remember that?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
We went and played in the mall. So was that in Schenectady or Albany or something?
I think it was upstate. I brought you guys upstate, up to Schenectady.
Yeah, man. I stayed at your grandma's house.
We rehearsed in Schenectady, and then we played at the mall. It was like Bloomingdale. It was like Sears or Macy's or something. Like I remember that now.
Dillard's or something. Yeah.
Dillard's or something. Yeah. We played them all. And then, yep. You came and stayed at grandma's, and then we went down to the city.
And then her and your auntie drove us back to Boston, back to college, back to Berkeley.
I forgot about the road trips. Yeah.
And we listened to the Wiz soundtrack. I'll never forget that, man. I was like, man, his grandma's so sweet.
Yeah, that was my girl, man. God bless her soul, man. No,
yes, man. Yes.
I think, and to be honest, like, I think this is the reason why, like, come on, man, it's hard to, like, choose one, like, moment. Like, everything was a dream come true and is a dream come true.
Yeah,
and I, you know, like, Billboard Live, Good Morning America, MetLife, Tiny Desk, Jimmy Kimmel. These are all places that when YouTube first came out, these are all the things that all the cats were doing, right?
Yeah.
We've done all of those.
Yep.
So many of those. You and I, we can share this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing really compared to the moments that I was able to share with my brothers.
Yeah.
You know, with y'all, you know, the Apollo, Band of Brothers, you know, we've done it. There's a couple of shows at Tiny Desk. We just did Tiny Desk for the third time. Like, these are the moments, because I'm like, yo, I not only do I remember the performance, but I remember the feeling and the desire that led us to these moments. The prayers and the, like, blood, sweat, and tears and sheds, you know, being able to, like, hopefully be able to one day perform on that level, man. And so, yeah, those are, you know, the Apollo was really the big one, though, man. Like, that was everything for me. Like you said, all the legends that were there, man. It really was the catalyst for everything that happened after, because shortly after that,
yeah, man, we all need that little bit of affirmation in our childhood, just to be like, yo, this is possible, man. And yeah, bro, I loved you know, hearing your story when we first met and seeing that book. I remember it was on, I don't know if it was on your dresser or what, at Berkeley in the dorm or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. But no, that's what's up, man. That was good times. I got to meet all the homies. So yeah, shout out to the what is it, the Hamilton Street Steel Band?
Hamilton Steel Jam, which eventually we became Calypso. That's
okay,
what we were by that
yeah.
point. Calypso, yeah. So
Word,
Armel,
man.
Spencer, Steve Sinisi, Deshaun, Mojica, Deshaun Serrano. I got to shout out the homies. Dave Smart was there. You, Dane.
Yep.
Aaron. Yeah, man, we had a wonderful time, man.
Word. So we can get to our next segment, Gem of the Week. So this is where we highlight an independent creator, whether they're in music, film, content creator, comedian, dancer, it don't even matter. Just anybody that's independent and fulfilling their dreams, an entrepreneur. But yeah, just anybody you want to shout out, and so our listeners can go and check them out.
Yeah, for sure. That's a hard one always, because we're listening to so much music. But if there was a couple to just say that I really rock with right now, Devin Morrison is on the top of that list. I don't know if people know who he is, but he is the producer and co-writer behind Yams that Masego did, and then the trend that happened. So he's one. He's been doing it for a long time. Another church kid turned producer, songwriter, artist. Mommy is another one. She's got a record called Calling Me Her. We did Tiny Desk with her. She's phenomenal songwriter and artist. Yep. Check her out. She's fire. I think she just signed a pub deal with Rock Nation, so she's about to be out of here. Wrote on Beyonce's new album too. Kyla Greening here in New Zealand. She's a fire artist. We had the privilege of working with her, doing her next single. Yeah, man. It's there's so many. Jade Nova. Shout out to the homies doing it. Yeah, man, it's a really good time. It's the Wild Wild West right now, but I love it because we all have the power to take things into our own hands. So those are just some of the people that I've really been loving lately.
Amazing. Well, make sure y'all go check them out. I'm definitely going to be checking everybody. I'm familiar with Devin Morrison, obviously, but I would love to check out the rest, man. And then our last segment, Sign Drop Collab. So this is where it's our version of that other game people be playing.
Yep.
So the person at the top of this list, you're gonna sign. The second person you're gonna collab with, and the one that's in third place you got to drop, unfortunately. So we're gonna go Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Prince.
Wow. Okay, sign, collab, and then drop.
Yep.
I would sign. I'd sign Prince. I'd sign Prince. I'd collab with Stevie, and I'd drop Michael. And I know that's probably really controversial.
I love that though. Why? Tell us why. Yeah.
Well, because it's still entertainment, right? And if I was a label, I'm thinking Prince is still a phenomenal songwriter and producer, but he was a showman and a musician's musician. So for me personally, I would sign him. I think that would be the best move. Stevie is, to me, I mean, with the exception of maybe two other writers, Stevie's one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. Probably the greatest songwriter that ever lived. And he's worked with your favorite songwriters. So from Paul McCartney to all these people. So yeah, I would want to collab with him. And his range musically is crazy. So
Freaking nuts.
Michael, I'd have to drop. And the only reason I say that is because I was always enamored by the excitement of his, like, that superstar thing, right? It's infectious. It's inspiring. To be honest, it sucks that I had to say this because Michael was one of my first inspirations. But from the staying power and, like, effective in my life, I just feel like I'd still be okay. Because, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense. Because, like,
I totally feel that.
His songs didn't mean as much to me as, like, Diamonds and Pearls and Darling Nikki and These Three Words and Summer Soft from Stevie. So yeah,
Man, Stevie's definitely, he's my GOAT, man. I think Stevie's my GOAT, man.
yeah.
It's incredible. So we're gonna take it to drums, man. A little childhood throwback for us, and a shout out to two legends that we talked about earlier, who we lost, but we still want to give them their flowers. So I know this will be a tough one. Obviously, it's no disrespect, but Marvin McQuitty, Calvin Rogers, Aaron Spears. So one you gonna sign to play with you always, one you gonna collab with, and you play maybe you playing another instrument, another one you just that can't be there, unfortunately.
Oh, that's so not fair.
It's not, man. This game is great, but it's so bad.
God. All right, cool. So if I'm gonna sign anyone, I'm gonna sign Calvin. I'm gonna sign Calvin. I'm going to collab with. I'm gonna collab with. Oh God. Nah. No. Nope. I gotta retract that. I'm gonna sign Aaron.
Okay.
I'm gonna sign Aaron. He's gonna be on every gig. I'm gonna collab with Calvin because, again, his ability to play on records is, for our generation, he's the greatest that came out of our generation to play on any style, any gig. And then Marvin, I would, you know what? I would just say, I wouldn't fire Marvin, but I would just buy him a really nice dinner and say, hey, bro, like, you've done your work. You can chill now.
Yes,
because
man.
You know what I mean? Like, because the hard part is
he was the first. Yeah, he was the first of their generation. Yeah. He definitely inspired Calvin.
Absolutely,
and Aaron for sure.
Absolutely, he was, and that's a hard one because like that's why I couldn't like fire him. I'd just be like, nah, bro. Like, I think just to be honest, and this is one of those reasons why it's like cats, everybody wants to be the best, but like there's going to be a younger cat after you. It's going to be 20 times better than you anyway, so you're never going to be the best. Never. And I think, but yeah, Calvin is just too versatile and too everything. That's why, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
God
man.
bless Marvin McQuitney too.
Yeah, man. Shout out to all three of them. Man. Beast, bro. Like, and me and Dre are both drummers first, so like, you know, that's what we grew up listening to, man. That was everything. Every record. What's the drummer about to do?
Oh yeah.
And you know, when them three got on the gig or the record or whatever it is, they gonna blaze every time. Last one. So we're gonna go more on the theme of this conversation. So as an outlet for better mental health, yoga, meditation, and gardening. Sign, drop, or collab.
I'm gonna go gardening first. I'm gonna sign that mainly because if I'm signing you, we're in this for a long haul, and I want to always be able to provide my family with good things.
Yep.
Collab is gonna, for me, it would be meditation. I'm big on like personal time and like quiet time, and like that's why I like take my walks, and that's my time, you know, to really just like get in here. There's not a lot of outside noise, so we collab frequently. And then meditation will probably be I'm sorry, I said that
yoga.
backwards. Yoga would probably be the least for me. I'm big into stretching, but like I haven't found a space where that's as essential to me as like, I'm still active, but not so. That's the one thing that I haven't really gotten deep into. And that probably just is because all my old musician bones ain't quite gotten to the space where I'm feeling confident yet in some of those poses and holding. But yeah, that would be my last
Word.
one.
Hey man, we gonna grow. I'm gonna send you some stuff, man. I'm gonna send you a channel that we follow their stuff. They got like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, please, bro. I mean, I'd love to get into it. We've been getting into like, obviously we've been trying to stretch every morning and like definitely super active, but like that's the one thing that like, and it's also, to be honest, it's a little harder with a 2-year-old that wants it, and then she wants to get on your back and do it. Like, but wait, shout out to Stella. I might have some videos I could send over, but like she gets like the dog down, like she gets into the whole thing, bro, and tries to like. So we'll see. That might be a new thing, you know.
I know she'll love that, man. She's active, man. I love it.
She's a goer, bro. She is a freaking goer.
All right, so last thing, we always like to leave off on a high note, putting our energy and our minds and our effort and our attention onto something that our guest wants to manifest. And we're going to do that together, man. We pride ourselves in being a resource for people and want to make sure that we don't just leave these conversations and not pass along, you know, helping out with us furthering our careers and our dreams, whether that's personally or whatever it is. So, what are you trying to manifest, man? Like, it don't have to be in a certain time, but just what's something that comes up for you?
I have found myself in a space where I have realized more and more that I'm a bit of a filter in this music thing, and developing a lot more artists and being a part of their journey from the seed has really truly filled my heart. So I think what I'm manifesting is the ability to take these records and these situations that I have with these artists that Lucy and I, that I've been building with, and to be able to give them a bit of a bigger platform and a bigger space for them to be able to be seen and heard. And I think it means more to me now, and that's one of the most important things to me, is because we're not fighting for Grammys, we're not fighting for the hype of it all, we're not fighting to try and get on these big artists' radar necessarily, as much as, just like with growing vegetables, man, it's a beautiful thing to come outside and see my plants thriving and standing up tall, but some days they lean like this, right? And I deal with that a lot with these artists. They'll come in and sometimes they're really excited, and the next day they're like, oh, I don't know if anybody's going to listen to my song. I don't know. I don't have management. I don't have a label. I don't have this. But through our conversations and continuing to inspire each other, I think that we've been effective in creating like a really healthy culture within artist development. So that's my manifestation, is like, and my prayer is that over the course of these next couple years that we will have a space to be able to really just allow these people that we've been building with to be seen. And that's not even just for me. That's and for what we do. Honestly, that's for the homies. It's like what you guys are doing and what we've talked about is I just want to see more of the underdogs get an opportunity to thrive in their greatness and not have to sell their proverbially sell their souls in order to be able to reach their people.
Yes.
That reach their people. That's it, man. That's what I'm manifesting because everything else is icing on the cake after that.
Yeah, man. Nah, giving back, man. And that's what happens when you grow and you mature. It's not about where you can get anymore. It's about where you can give. And I love that. And I love to see my friends going from what can we get? What can we get? Give me the gig. Yeah. Right. To what can I give, man? And it's so much more fulfilling. And I hope that's something that we can all carry into our lives. So that was beautiful, by the way, man. And that's what this is about. And not just giving to others, giving back to yourself, everything that Dre talked about in terms of getting his mental health together and his physical health. So I just want to encourage everybody, man, to really leave this conversation and look deep into yourself to see how you can make changes, whether it's just small for now or whatever. Go be in nature, detox every now and then, do something that is going to take you closer to your higher self and not to your lower self, man. And that's all we can do. Everything is a one decision at a time. And we got to start having more of these conversations. So
100%.
my bro, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this. Super duper proud of you and everything that you're doing and all that you're going to continue to do. And I can't wait to hear all that you're going to come out with and working with these artists. And make sure you tell everybody where they can find you and follow you so they can keep up with your career and everything that you have going on.
For sure. So on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it's Modre is my tag. So you can find me on there. You can also follow the Feel Good Service on all platforms at the Feel Good Service. Band of Brothers is another one you can follow. Those are all three things that are near and dear to my heart. And there's a lot of music coming out. Just a lot of life stuff. You follow me on my Instagram, you'll see pictures of my baby girl and of us being out in nature and doing the things that we do. So, tap in.
You want to at least tell us about maybe a project or two or a song or two that just came out, anything recently that you want them to go check out specifically? Because, y'all got some fire stuff, man.
Thank you, man. So the Feel Good Service just recently dropped a project called Dirty Funkin' Soul, and you can find that on all platforms. A couple singles out. Carnival, I think, was the latest one. And then Band of Brothers released a single recently called She Knows. We also just did our yearly showcase, which stay on the lookout for that. The Neighborhood is a yearly festival concert vibe we do every year in Atlanta. So check that out. And then we've got a release with an artist, two artists I mentioned, Kyla Greening and Aiden Fine. We have a record called Getaway that I've produced, and Lucy and I co-wrote with them, and just found out it's going to radio here in New Zealand as well.
Oh.
So we're excited about that and to see where it goes. So yeah, man, just stay tapped in. Those are kind of the latest drops or whatever, but a whole lot more on the way really soon.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, y'all go check it out. Again, thank you so much, bro. Thank y'all for tuning in and listening to this conversation. It's been amazing to talk about this with you, and I couldn't think of a better person to talk about this with, man. So yeah, just super grateful for this time, man.
I appreciate you again, man, for having me and for what you're doing with your platform, bro. You guys are really doing something special and very important for the culture.
Man, thank you, bro, so much. We'll catch y'all next time. Thank you again for tuning in to the Let There Be Art podcast. We out.
Did you know that they like make food that people eat?
Like with their hands from scratch, you know?
Yeah. No measuring cups.
It's now 5:21 in the morning.
I give myself 4 minutes, I'm gonna be out.
And Dre, he doesn't know how to stay awake. If this is not like completely busy, he's gone.
He says I got narcolepsy. But we out. We'll holler. DJ, your boy Dre.
Losers.
2 fingers.